Now, let's say you do terribly. You can't answer anything about each other. You give off a very suspicious vibe. Hey guys, welcome back. A question I regularly hear is, will immigration visit my house to verify that I'm in a real marriage? To come and check to see that we are both living in the house when I apply for a green card through marriage to my US citizen spouse? The answer depends. As all things immigration, it depends. Let me explain generally what the procedure for the interviews looks like, because if you do a deep dive down visa journey or talk to your friend's friend who got married for a green card, you might hear these crazy stories like immigration actually visited my house. And yes, it is possible, but it's generally unlikely. When you apply for a green card through a spouse, you will go to an initial interview. And generally speaking, at the initial interview, you guys will be together the entire time. It's more like a conversation between one immigration officer and the two spouses to see if they get a feel for the marriage, if it looks real. It's not always like a fun, friendly conversation. Sometimes it's very directed at one spouse or the other spouse, and you're sometimes advised to not even look at each other for hints or clues on how to answer the questions. But you are generally together during this interview. And the officer really has real reservations about whether it's a real marriage, and they don't want to approve the case. What they can do is schedule a second interview. It's called a Stokes interview. And at that second interview, you will be separated. And it's very hostile. And each spouse will be asked the same 100 questions. And the officers will interview one spouse and then the next spouse. You don't have a chance to talk in between. It's back to back. And they're looking for major differences in your responses. For example, they ask spouse A, what was your weekly schedule like in the last week? And he says, I was actually off this week, so I was home the whole time. And then they ask spouse B, what was your spouse's schedule like in the last week? And she says, he worked 9 to 5 every day. It's clear that you weren't living together during the last week if you can't answer such a simple question about each other. And that would likely result in your green card application getting denied. The first interview where you guys are together, if it goes poorly and it's flagged for fraud, oftentimes the second interview will be like a year later. And in between the first and second year, it is possible that immigration will conduct a home visit where they can knock on your door and ask to see the house. They're looking to see, do two people live here at least? Are there shoes for spouses, husband and wife, or whatever the situation may be? Does the bedroom look like two people live here? Are there 2 toothbrushes? Are there 2 sets of clothing in this apartment or not? They might even knock on neighbors' doors and ask them, did you see both spouses living here? Who lives in this apartment? And if your neighbors say, no, it's just one guy who lives there, you're gonna have an issue. It's not uncommon in these situations for the immigration officer to then meet with the US citizen and try to pressure them by saying, you're facing this massive fine or prison time for committing immigration fraud. If you come clean with us now, you won't have to deal with any of that. And oftentimes that's enough pressure for the US citizen spouse to come clean. It's not worth going to jail over. With that said, it's extraordinarily rare for there to be a home visit. Out of the last couple hundred cases I've done, there have been exactly 0 home visits. But to be fair, I only represent people who are in real marriages. So maybe if you dig deep enough on these internet forums or Reddit, you'll find stories of actual home visits. But just know, it's very unlikely. The important thing to do is to submit as much evidence as possible that you're in a good faith marriage and to prepare with an attorney before you attend your interview. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. I just wanted to make this video because I get this question all the time. Like every time I consult with somebody who just married a US citizen, one of the questions I get is whether immigration is going to visit their house. I don't know why everybody thinks this is gonna happen, but it's pretty rare, so it's unlikely to happen. If you are applying for a green card, or recently married a US citizen and you want to learn about how to fix your status, I can definitely assist you with this process. The first step would be to schedule a consultation either directly through my website or by calling my office. You can find our info in the video description below. If you're new to my channel, you can ask any question you want that's related to immigration in the comments below, and within 1 week of posting the video, I'll respond to the questions. Also, I post a new video on a weekly basis, so be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for another video.